Deathworlders' patience runs out, no treaties, no warnings, only war, HFY stories. The galaxy had always viewed Earth and its inhabitants as little more than a curiosity, a planet home to barely advanced apes, struggling to get by in a cosmos populated by beings with centuries of technology and wisdom. Earth, a death world in every sense of the word, was not seen as a threat until it was. For millennia, Earth's people had been quietly watched, occasionally manipulated, but never truly respected. The Galactic Council, a conglomerate of species from all over the stars, had kept its distance. After all, humanity had been fractured, primitive, and unorganized, but they never bothered to fully grasp what made the people of Earth dangerous. It wasn't just that humans were violent or unpredictable, it was that they were resilient. While other species withered under pressure, humanity thrived in chaos. They lived on a world where every day could be a fight for survival. They were forged by predators, disaster, and competition. They adapted, they learned, and above all else, they survived. The tipping point came when the Galactic Federation began experimenting with Earth. First, it was subtle. A few representatives, here and there, were dispatched to learn about Earth's cultures. Then it turned into something more: economic manipulation, mining operations, alien corporations extracting resources from Earth's soil and oceans without offering anything in return. Over time, Earth's people began to see the patterns. But humans, at their core, were patient. They had learned to endure. They had learned to wait. They would let the council push them, prod them, and attempt to break them. It wasn't out of weakness, no. It was a test of restraint, of self-control, and of the ability to tolerate injustice for the sake of a greater goal. Until, finally, their patience ran out. The tipping point was the final straw. A group of Earth's cities were covertly destroyed in a peacekeeping operation by the Zither, a species known for its mechanical prowess and disdain for lesser species. These Zither had long seen themselves as above others, treating their technological dominance as a sign of superiority. Earth's leaders, despite their fury, had decided to approach the destruction with diplomacy, hoping against all odds that they could appeal to reason. But the Federation saw that as weakness. The Zither had overstepped, and they would be punished for it, but that wasn't enough. A message needed to be sent, one that would rattle the bones of every galactic power. Humanity was done waiting. No more treaties, no more negotiations, no more gentle talks. Humanity had been the underdog long enough. The first blow came from the last place anyone expected, the skies above New York. Thousands of warships, cloaked by stealth technology, appeared as Earth's first official military engagement. They weren't ships of any other species, no. They were human-made, crafted from resources scavenged from the stars. Advanced, yes, but brutal in their design. What appeared to be peaceful civilian vessels had been retrofitted for war. And they unleashed chaos. Not a single warning. Not a single attempt at diplomatic efforts. Only death. The sky lit up with explosions. Not from alien technology, but human-made weapons so deadly they made the other species tremble. The United Earth Navy, long dismissed as weak and ineffectual, had quietly built the most powerful war machine the galaxy had ever seen. It didn't stop there. Every major galactic system that had wronged humanity in the past, those who had stolen resources, enslaved humans, or manipulated them, felt the force of Earth's wrath. Communications from the Galactic Federation came too late. They demanded Earth cease its assault, but the message was a relic of the old age. Humanity had no interest in negotiations anymore. They didn't need to wait for peace. They had been patient for far too long. The Federation, despite their strength and unity, couldn't fight back. Humanity's war machine didn't rely on alien technology. It was forged from 100,000 years of surviving the worst that nature and the cosmos could throw at them. The human military had created weapons that turned the Zither's advanced systems into scrap, that disabled the Grixian shields, and obliterated the Tazir orbital fleets. With every battle won, their resolve hardened. And the galaxy felt it. The human forces descended on the Galactic Council's strongholds with the fury of a death world unleashed. Their message was simple: we are not the weaklings you once thought we were. We will fight and fight until every last one of you understands that humanity is not to be trifled with. The Federation, once an imposing force in the galaxy, had underestimated the people of Earth. They hadn't realized that the very survival instincts that made humans dangerous were exactly what made them unstoppable. The concept of giving up didn't exist in the human lexicon. No matter the odds, no matter the losses, they kept fighting. The war was quick. Within a matter of years, the Federation had been reduced to little more than a fractured shell. Those who still wanted to negotiate with Earth were met with the cold, hard truth of the situation. Humanity didn't need allies anymore. They had resources of their own. They had technology. They had fire. And, most importantly, they had something no other species in the galaxy could match: the will to survive at any cost. The Earth's leadership didn't crow over their victory. Instead, they offered something even more terrifying than their victory: a warning. "We are not here to rule the galaxy," the voice of Earth's leader said, broadcasted across the stars. "But we will not tolerate further exploitation. The war ends today, but if anyone attempts to test us again, there will be no negotiations, no treaties, only war." The message was clear, unambiguous. From that day on, humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer in question. The Deathworlders had made it clear they would never again be treated as lesser beings. And for the first time, the galaxy realized the full power of a species pushed too far. No treaties, no warnings, only war. Deathworlders' patience runs out. No treaties, no warnings, only war. HFY stories continued. The victory over the Galactic Federation wasn't the end, it was only the beginning. Earth's emergence as the dominant force in the galaxy sent shockwaves that rattled every star system. No one had seen it coming. The Federation's swift fall, the overwhelming power of humanity's technology and resilience, was something none of the other galactic species could ignore. But as is the way of empires, when one rises, others seek to challenge it. Humanity's first year of dominance was marked by a new kind of peace, a peace built on the cold reality of Earth's military superiority. Yet, as time passed, some species, emboldened by their previous arrogance, began testing the waters once more. Trade routes were disrupted, territories that had been peacefully shared were claimed, and whispers of insurrection began to spread across the stars. The galaxy's inhabitants were quick to forget the lesson Earth had taught. One such species, the Drellner, an insectoid race known for their advanced biological weaponry and fierce pride, decided it was time to restore their own standing in the galaxy. They had never respected humanity, seeing the Earthlings as little more than squabbling primitives. But after their defeat at the hands of the humans, they watched, waited, and slowly rebuilt their forces, biding their time until they believed humanity's defenses had grown complacent. The Drellner struck first. A fleet of massive warships, bioengineered to resemble colossal insects, descended on Earth's outer colonies. They released waves of horrifying, genetically modified beasts, bioweapons designed to wipe out all human life. It was an attack meant to show that the Drellner were still the apex predators in this part of the galaxy, and they would not be bowing to humanity's new order. But they had gravely miscalculated. When news of the attack reached Earth, the response was immediate and terrifying. The human military, far from being caught off guard, had anticipated something like this. Earth's scientists, working behind the scenes for years, had developed a weapon they called the Genesis Protocol, a failsafe that could turn the tables on any biological threat. In one fell swoop, humanity had created a virus. Its sole purpose was to target and neutralize the Drellner's genetic makeup. It was a weapon of such precision and devastation that no alien species had ever even considered the possibility of it being developed. The Drellner fleet, underestimating the threat, was overwhelmed within days. Their bioweapons turned on them, their soldiers succumbing to their own creations. The Genesis Protocol tore through their ranks, ensuring the Drellner would never again challenge Earth. Once again, humanity had proven the galaxy wrong. However, the attack was not an isolated incident. While the Drellner's attempt had failed, there were others watching, plotting, and waiting for the right time to strike. A coalition of smaller races, disillusioned by their past failures to negotiate with Earth, formed an alliance of sorts. They called themselves the Reclamation League. The League's goal was simple: undermine humanity's power, sabotage its resources, and slowly chip away at Earth's position as the galaxy's supreme force. They made the same mistake the others had before. The League's first strike came in the form of a covert attack on Earth's orbital mining colonies. The idea was to cripple Earth's economy, creating chaos and division among humanity's leadership. They sent their best agents, elite operatives trained in sabotage, espionage, and subterfuge, to infiltrate key infrastructure points. But this time, Earth was ready. The Galactic War had taught humanity invaluable lessons. The Human Intelligence Network, operating with a precision no one could match, immediately detected the movement of League agents. Within hours, Earth's military had mobilized, launching coordinated strikes that not only repelled the infiltrators but wiped out the entire covert operation. And Earth wasn't done. The humans did something no other species had dared to do. They pursued the remnants of the League across multiple systems, no longer content with mere retaliation. Earth initiated a series of surgical strikes on the League's homeworlds. It was a war of attrition, unrelenting, unforgiving, and merciless. For the first time, the Reclamation League understood what it was like to face a foe that would never tire, never negotiate, and never show mercy. Earth's soldiers had been forged by centuries of survival. They fought with a savage determination that even the most battle-hardened species had difficulty comprehending. By the time Earth was finished, the Reclamation League no longer existed as an organized force. Their worlds lay in ruins, their fleets shattered. Earth had not only defended itself, it had demonstrated that any aggression, no matter how subtle, would be met with swift and total destruction. The message was clear: you have nothing to gain by challenging us. We will always find you. We will always win. But the galaxy didn't learn. The lessons of humanity's wrath remained a myth to many. And so, the years passed, and with them, the tensions mounted. Small skirmishes erupted. Pirates, smugglers, and alien warlords sought to test their might against Earth's borders. But they were always met with the same fate: swift, brutal retaliation. Humanity's reputation spread across the stars, and soon, the greatest challenge they would face wasn't military, it was psychological. Every species now feared the possibility of being caught in the crosshairs of Earth's vengeance. What began as a fight for survival had become a war for dominance, and humanity had become its greatest predator. But in the quiet shadows of the galaxy, some species began to understand the true meaning of the message Earth had sent. The galaxy would never be the same. No longer would humanity be the overlooked, fragile species on a distant, forgotten world. They had shown that in a universe full of powerful beings, it was humanity that had the most dangerous weapon: the will to survive, to adapt, and to never, ever back down. The galaxy had learned that humanity's patience may be long, but once it runs out, there is no negotiation. There is only war. Deathworlders' patience runs out. No treaties, no warnings, only war. HFY stories continued. The galaxy, once bustling with alliances, trading routes, and intricate politics, now held its breath. Earth had reshaped the balance of power, and its influence stretched farther than any had anticipated. But as humanity's might became undeniable, there came whispers in the darkest corners of the stars, rumors of a new enemy, one unlike any the galaxy had seen before. They called themselves the Tsoreth. The Tsoreth were an ancient race, older than the Galactic Federation itself. They had lived for millennia in isolation, observing the galaxy's ever-changing tides without engaging. Their form was unlike anything humanity had encountered, a collection of interconnected, semi-sentient bioorganic entities that existed as one. They were rumored to be both an evolutionary anomaly and a living collective intelligence, with a single, united consciousness that had existed long before most species even learned to walk upright. For centuries, the Tsoreth had taken a passive stance in galactic affairs, refusing to get involved in any conflict or even communicate with other species. But, when Earth began its meteoric rise to power, the Tsoreth decided the time had come to act. Their motivations were unclear at first. They weren't like the Drellner, the Reclamation League, or any of the other species that sought power for its own sake. The Tsoreth's only interest was one thing: the preservation of the status quo. For them, the galaxy's delicate balance of power was not to be disrupted. Humanity's violent ascension had caused ripples in that balance, and the Tsoreth decided it was time to push back against Earth's growing might. They started in subtle ways. They manipulated trade routes, quietly diverting resources from Earth's allies and undermining their economic stability. They infiltrated political structures, sowing distrust and division among the various species that had once supported humanity's rise. They did all of this from the shadows, without firing a single shot. The Tsorith believed that if they could fracture the alliances humanity had forged, they could eventually weaken Earth from within. It was a slow game of manipulation, and for a time, it seemed like they might succeed. The galaxy began to doubt whether humanity could sustain its rise, as tensions bubbled to the surface and factions began to splinter. However, what the Tsorith failed to understand was that Earth's strength didn't lie solely in its military might or its technological superiority. It lay in the unity of its people, their indomitable will to survive, even when faced with overwhelming odds. The very thing that Tsorith sought to exploit, the cracks in alliances, was the one thing humanity had learned to overcome. Earth's government, having seen the signs of Tsorith interference, acted quickly. The same unyielding patience that had once allowed humanity to withstand centuries of exploitation now turned into a precision strike that would shatter the Tsorith's carefully constructed web of deceit. Humanity's elite forces, known as the Special Task Force Terran, went into action. These units weren't just soldiers. They were humanity's finest minds and warriors, scientists, strategists, engineers, and veterans from every corner of Earth's diverse cultures. They'd been preparing for this moment for years, creating covert operations and countermeasures designed to outsmart any threat that dared to disrupt Earth's rise. The Tsorith had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt. They had assumed that Earth's military might was their only advantage. What they failed to account for was humanity's unrivaled ingenuity. A counterintelligence operation was launched against the Tsorith's most critical assets, without firing a single shot. Earth's operatives infiltrated their networks, exposing the inner workings of the Tsorith's subversive activities and unraveling their influence across multiple systems. By the time the Tsorith realized their deception had been uncovered, it was too late. Humanity struck hard, not with brute force, but with a combination of unparalleled intelligence, adaptability, and raw determination. Earth's military forces descended on the Tsorith's homeworlds in a series of rapid, surgical strikes. The Tsorith's bioorganic ships, which once seemed indestructible, were swiftly neutralized by Earth's newly developed antibioweapons, designed specifically to counter the Tsorith's unique physiology. The Tsorith had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to outthink and outmaneuver even the most ancient of species. The Tsorith's attempt to break Earth had failed utterly. With their homeworlds now under attack and their influence shattered, the Tsorith had no choice but to offer a desperate plea for peace. The terms were simple. They requested a ceasefire, a return to the pre-war status quo. But humanity's patience had already run out. The message sent by Earth's leaders was brutal and final. You had your chance. You were given a warning. You chose to attack us through subterfuge, through whispers and shadows. Now, the war ends in our terms. No treaties, no warnings, only war. The Tsorith, once proud and ancient, now faced the undeniable truth of Earth's power. They had broken the most sacred rule in the galaxy: never challenge humanity directly. And for the first time, they understood what it meant to face a Deathworlder. The war against the Tsorith was swift. With the full force of Earth's military, supported by its allies, the Tsorith were driven into extinction. Their collective consciousness, so ancient and so sure of its place in the galaxy, was no match for the relentless ingenuity and sheer force of will of a species that had known nothing but struggle since the dawn of time. In the end, the galaxy had learned its final lesson. Humanity could be patient, yes, but once their patience ran out, there would be no mercy, no treaties, no warnings. Only war. And this time, no one would dare challenge them again. The era of Earth's dominance had only just begun. Deathworlders' patience runs out. No treaties, no warnings, only war. HFY stories continued. The galaxy had learned to fear Earth. Humanity's rise had been swift, their power undeniable, and their patience finite. Every conflict, every challenge they faced, only solidified their place in the cosmos. But as Earth's dominance grew, the murmurs of discontent, of species too proud to bow to their new overlords, began to resurface. For the first time in centuries, Earth found itself facing not just the remnants of an old order, but the seeds of a new, unified front of resistance. This new coalition, calling themselves the Syndicate of Sovereigns, was composed of races who had once believed in the Federation's idea of peace and order, only now they saw humanity as the new tyrant, the new force to overthrow. The Syndicate wasn't a single race, it was an alliance, a hodgepodge of species united under a common goal: to break humanity's stranglehold on the galaxy. They saw Earth as an upstart, an interloper in a galaxy that had always been theirs to control, and they were willing to fight for it. The Syndicate's first action was to form a new, powerful military alliance, drawing from the advanced weaponry of the Zither, the biological warfare expertise of the Drellner, and the political cunning of the Grixian. They built a coalition army designed to challenge Earth's supremacy. But once again, they made the same mistake. The Syndicate believed that by uniting the galaxy's remaining powerful factions, they could overwhelm Earth's forces. They thought humanity would crumble under the weight of a coordinated multi-front assault, their unity shattered by their enemies' combined might. They didn't realize that Earth wasn't just a military force, they were a force of nature. Humanity's history was a history of rebellion, of survival against overwhelming odds. Earth had faced extinction countless times, from world-shattering cataclysms to intergalactic exploitation. But every time, humans adapted, they learned, they grew stronger. And now, as the Syndicate gathered its forces, Earth was already prepared. For the past few years, Earth's leaders had known that this moment would come. It was inevitable. The Syndicate had been building its army, recruiting more and more species, all while Earth's military forces had been quietly building as well. Earth had long since perfected their advanced warships, their fleets now larger, faster, and more formidable than ever before. But this time, Earth had something more, a secret weapon, something the Syndicate would never have suspected. The Ascendants. The Ascendants were the result of a classified program developed in the wake of humanity's first encounter with the Sorath. They were humans, yes, but enhanced, genetically modified, augmented with cybernetic implants, and trained to become the ultimate soldiers, adaptable in ways no other species could match. They were Earth's new secret weapon, designed to operate behind enemy lines and break even the most fortified of defenses. When the Syndicate launched its first full-scale attack on Earth's core systems, they believed they had caught humanity off guard. Their fleets surged forward, overwhelming colonies and military installations that Earth had once considered secure. The battle lines were drawn. On one side, a galaxy bent on resisting Earth's rule. On the other, the Deathworlders who would never surrender. The Syndicate's first strike was a multi-pronged assault on Earth's largest colonies, each hit with deadly precision. But as soon as they entered Earth's outer defenses, something changed. The Syndicate found their ships disabled, their soldiers rendered helpless in an instant. Earth's new weapon, a new type of electromagnetic pulse, scrambled their systems. The Syndicate's fleets, once confident in their strength, were now flying blind. And then came the Ascendants. The first of the Ascendants appeared in the midst of the Syndicate's fleet, silent and deadly. In a matter of hours, they took control of enemy ships, sabotaged key military installations, and neutralized entire Syndicate battle groups with surgical precision. Their presence on the battlefield was like a shadow, quick, brutal, and invisible until it was far too late. By the time the Syndicate realized what was happening, it was already over. Their supply chains had been crippled, their leadership decimated, and their fleets scattered. The Ascendants were the perfect weapon for this kind of war, adaptable, relentless, and with no moral hesitation. The Syndicate attempted to regroup, to retaliate in kind, but they underestimated Earth once more. Every time they tried to strike back, Earth responded with calculated efficiency. Military installations were wiped off the map in hours, entire colonies reclaimed before they even knew they were under attack. It wasn't a war anymore, it was an extermination. As the Syndicate's forces crumbled, one of their last leaders, a high-ranking Grixian strategist, called for a meeting with Earth's leadership. The Syndicate had lost, and they knew it. The galaxy, once united against Earth, was now fractured, defeated, and broken. Humanity's response was simple. We didn't want this war. You forced us into it. Now, you will learn what happens when you challenge the Deathworlders. The Syndicate's final plea was answered with a statement that echoed across the stars. There will be no more warnings, no more treaties, only war. The last remnants of the syndicate scattered, each race now left to deal with the inevitable consequences of their failed rebellion. Earth didn't just win the war, they obliterated the very idea of challenging them ever again. For those who survived, there was nothing left to do but submit, for they knew that Earth's power was something that could never be undone. The galaxy had learned, once again, that humanity's patience had a limit. The Deathworlders had endured, survived, and now, they reigned supreme. Their dominance was no longer in question. The galaxy was Earth's, and those who had defied them had learned the hard way. There were no treaties. There were no warnings, only war, and humanity would always win. Deathworlders' patience runs out, no treaties, no warnings, only war. HFY stories continued. The galaxy had grown eerily quiet after the collapse of the Syndicate of Sovereigns. Species that had once considered themselves the ruling powers of the galaxy now understood the gravity of their mistake. Earth had become something no one could ignore, an unstoppable force, a new empire forged in the fires of war. But while the universe may have paused in fear, a new threat was emerging from the shadows, one that would challenge humanity's dominance in a way no one expected. The Kvar Dominion, a vast and ancient empire of insectoid beings, had watched from the edges of known space. For eons, they had ruled their corner of the galaxy with an iron grip, suppressing rebellions and keeping other species in check through sheer force. But even as they maintained their distance, the rise of Earth had piqued their interest. They had witnessed humanity's crushing victories over the Drellner and the Syndicate, and their initial thoughts had been of concern. But over time, something more insidious took root within the Kvar leadership: fear. They feared the humans would eventually turn their attention to them. It was this fear that drove the Kvar to act. But unlike the previous failed attempts to challenge Earth, they knew direct conflict would only lead to their own destruction. Instead, they sought to manipulate, to outsmart humanity using tactics that played to their greatest strength: subterfuge. For years, the Kvar had been quietly infiltrating Earth's diplomatic and political systems. They planted agents in key positions, sowed discord among Earth's allies, and manipulated trade routes. Their goal was simple: destabilize the Terran Empire from within, create fractures in the unity that had been so carefully built over decades. They intended to strike at Earth's Achilles heel: their alliances. The Kvar were patient, and they knew humanity's greatest weakness: their reliance on cooperation with other species. Without their allies, Earth would fall, and that was exactly what the Kvar sought to achieve. But the Kvar had overlooked something critical: they had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt. It started with whispers. Suspicious communications between Earth's allies began to surface. There were rumors of trade agreements that hadn't been finalized, military deals that had gone awry. But before the Kvar could strike decisively, Earth's intelligence apparatus, still one of the most advanced in the galaxy, intercepted the signs of infiltration. It began with a single message intercepted by the Terran High Command, a coded transmission from an unknown source, detailing the Kvar's manipulation tactics. It was a gift, one that sent shockwaves through Earth's diplomatic circles. Within days, Earth's military was on high alert, preparing for the worst-case scenario. They knew the Kvar's strategy: they would turn Earth's allies against them, weaken them from within, and then strike. But Earth was no longer the naive and isolated species it had once been. They had learned from every war, every betrayal, and in the shadows of their intelligence network, an answer was already being forged. In the dead of night, Terran operatives launched a series of counterstrikes. They infiltrated the highest levels of the Kvar Dominion, planting false information and sowing confusion within their ranks. At the same time, Earth's diplomats worked tirelessly, uncovering the Kvar's web of lies and presenting irrefutable evidence to Earth's allies. The plan was a masterstroke, using the Kvar's own deceit against them, and turning their allies into humanity's staunchest defenders. By the time the Kvar realized they had been exposed, it was too late. The Dominion's carefully constructed network of influence collapsed. Humanity's allies rallied around Earth, standing united against the external threat they had unknowingly been manipulated by. The Kvar had no choice but to prepare for the inevitable conflict. But Earth's message was clear: there would be no peace negotiations, no treaties, no warnings, only war. The response was swift and merciless. Humanity's military forces, now bolstered by their allies, descended on the Kthar's outer territories in an unrelenting storm. The insectoid dominion, once so sure of their ability to manipulate and deceive, now found themselves facing a foe that saw through every deception, every shadowed maneuver. Earth's fleet, equipped with weapons designed specifically to counter the Kthar's advanced biological defenses, struck hard. The Kthar's vast, hive-like fleets were torn apart in the space of a few short days. The Dominion's soldiers, once thought to be an unstoppable force, were routed by humanity's well-coordinated and lightning-fast strikes. The Kthar had underestimated Earth's resolve, and that would be their undoing. But the war was not won in space alone. The Kthar's homeworld, a sprawling biosphere covered in layers of intricate tunnels and fortified citadels, was the last bastion of their power. Earth's military command knew that this would be the final battle, the one that would determine the fate of the Kthar Dominion once and for all. This time, humanity wasn't just relying on their strength in space, they had developed a new type of warfare, one that would crush the Kthar's resilience at its very core. The Genetic Erasure Protocol, a classified Terran operation designed to target specific genetic traits in enemy species, was humanity's final card. Earth had studied the Kthar's biology, their complex hive mind, and their defense mechanisms. The Genetic Erasure Protocol was designed to target the Kthar's neural network, severing the links between their central intelligence and the soldiers that acted under its command. Once initiated, the protocol spread like wildfire, severing the Kthar's ability to function as a collective. Their soldiers, once unified in purpose, were now aimless and disoriented, easy prey for Earth's forces. With the Kthar's homeworld crippled and their collective consciousness fractured, the last remnants of the Dominion surrendered. It was a total victory, but not one Earth celebrated. The message was once again simple, brutal, and clear. You thought you could break us, you thought you could divide us, but we are humanity, we stand united, and when our patience runs out, there will be no mercy, no treaties, no warnings, only war. The galaxy now knew what it meant to face the true power of Earth, not just a military force, but a people who had survived everything the universe had thrown at them, a people who had learned from every defeat and every victory, and who would never again be ruled by fear. The Kthar, like so many before them, had failed. Earth's dominance was not just a matter of military strength, it was the unyielding will of a species that had survived the harshest of worlds, endured the greatest trials, and emerged victorious time and time again. And now, the galaxy knew. Humanity's patience had run out. And this time, there would be no more wars to fight, only peace on their terms. Deathworlders' patience runs out, no treaties, no warnings, only war. HFY stories continued. After the fall of the Kthar Dominion, the galaxy held its breath. Humanity's reign, once a whisper of a new power, was now undeniable. But while most species had learned the hard way that opposing Earth was a losing proposition, one last, dangerous faction lingered in the shadows, the Nvar Consortium. The Nvar were a race of hyper-intelligent beings, native to a planet deep within a star system on the fringes of the galaxy. Unlike the Kthar, who relied on manipulation, the Nvar believed in the quiet, subtle art of subjugation through economic domination. Their world was a powerful center of commerce, and their vast networks of trade and finance reached into nearly every corner of known space. They operated in the background, influencing governments, manipulating economies, and engineering conflicts among other species. They had played both sides during the Syndicate's rebellion, quietly ensuring that Earth's enemies were well-funded, all while making sure that humanity would never have a peaceful way out. The Nvar were the architects of chaos, the unseen hands that had shaped much of the galaxy's most devastating conflicts. But now Earth stood at the pinnacle, its allies united and its power unmatched. The Nvar, once hidden in the shadows, knew their time was running out. Their business empire, built on secrecy and control, now found itself under scrutiny as Earth's influence spread, and the very foundation of their power was at risk. For the first time, the Nvar knew they were the target. Their initial response was calculated, subtle subversion of Earth's markets, attempts to influence key economic sectors, and attempts to create fissures between Earth's corporate allies. But just like the Kthar before them, they failed to recognize the one constant in humanity's rise: Earth's people were unyielding, and they had no tolerance for those who threatened their unity. when the Nvar pushed too far, attempting to hijack vital trade routes and incite an interstellar financial crisis. Earth's response was swift and unforgiving. The Terran Financial Coalition, a powerful entity that had emerged during Earth's rise to galactic prominence, retaliated with devastating precision. What followed was not a battle of armies, but a war of economics, a war that Earth had prepared for. Knowing the Nvar's greatest weapon was the ability to destroy from within, not through brute force. Humanity's reaction was a calculated financial assault. They utilized their own extensive network of corporations, financiers, and technologists to cut the Nvar off from all of their resources, systematically bankrupting their operations by dismantling their trade networks and cutting off their ties to the rest of the galaxy. Earth's business leaders, once just players on the galactic stage, became the instruments of their military. No weapons were fired, but every Nvar financial system was obliterated, and their assets evaporated into nothing. The Nvar were forced to turn to their old alliances, the remnants of the Syndicate, scattered groups of mercenaries, and shadowy organizations. But they were too late. Earth's financial network had already tightened its grip, and without the Nvar's hidden resources, their allies were now nothing more than isolated pockets of resistance, easily crushed. In desperation, the Nvar called for a meeting with Earth's representatives, a final, futile attempt to salvage what little remained of their power. Their leader, a calculating and cold individual named Corin Nvar, offered Earth an ultimatum. Humanity has proven itself the greatest military power the galaxy has ever known, Corin said with a voice that echoed through the calms. But we have no need for war. We offer you the future of interstellar commerce, a partnership. We can help you expand your reach beyond your wildest dreams. All we ask in return is that you leave our sovereignty intact. The message was clear. The Nvar sought to survive by offering humanity more of what they already had: power, wealth, influence. They believed that by offering Earth a stake in their galactic empire, they could secure their place in the new order. But Earth had learned, and its patience had worn thin. The message from Earth's leadership was simple, direct, and non-negotiable. We didn't build what we have by partnering with those who seek to control us. You chose the path of subterfuge. You threatened us with your economic war, your manipulation of the galaxy's financial veins. You made your choice, and now you will face the consequences. Humanity did not negotiate, nor did they wait for the Nvar to strike. Earth launched a final, decisive blow to the Nvar Consortium, a calculated dismantling of their entire operation. Within weeks, the Nvar's economic strongholds crumbled, their influence reduced to nothing. The vast trade routes they had built were rerouted, their monopolies dissolved. The consortium's once proud empire was left in ruins. Yet, in typical Earth fashion, there was no celebration, no grand speeches. The message had already been made clear, and the Nvar were left to count their losses. Earth had no need for treaties, no need for negotiations. The war had been won not through force of arms, but through humanity's unyielding ability to adapt and survive in every arena. As the remnants of the Nvar scrambled to regroup, Earth's High Command issued their final statement. The galaxy has learned this lesson: when you challenge the Deathworlders, when you seek to undermine humanity's rise, you will not find a single ally. You will find no mercy, no treaties, no warnings, only war, and we always win. The Nvar, like those before them, faded into history, their power crushed under the weight of Earth's will. In the aftermath, the galaxy knew the truth of Earth's power. It was not simply a matter of military might or economic prowess, it was a matter of will. Humanity had proven time and time again that they would bend to no one, that they could not be manipulated, coerced, or ruled. And now, as the galaxy watched from the shadows, they understood one simple fact: humanity's patience had run out, and those who crossed them would never rise again. Only Earth remained, standing firm at the center of the galaxy, unchallenged, unbroken, and forever victorious.